Hi, everybody. We're just having a little bit of technical issues. We'll start in just a moment. Worst case scenario. Nicole, how do you feel about being on speaker on WhatsApp? And I'll just put you near my microphone. All right, cool. Let's get started. So this is going to be interesting for my hand, but you know what? For the sake of podcasting. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Geopats podcast.
It's all an experiment.
It is an audio experience to scratch your cultural curiosity itch with many different expat-themed shows. You're about to experience one of the newer shows that we have called Expat Podcasters. It was supposed to officially launch next Monday after our Expat Podcasters session for International Podcast Day. But since Nicole's doing a live International Podcast Day event, we thought we'd bring her on a bit early to talk about her expat podcasting life in Germany. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for being patient with the tech issues.
Oh, I'm patient. I kind of want to throw the laptop out the window right now, though. So let's just dive in. Because I know you're on your lunch hour. So let's get to it. Let's do the expat basics first. What is your passport country? Where are you now? And how long have you been there?
I am from the United States of America, specifically from Philadelphia. I am now living in Freiburg, Germany, and I've been here for about 2 years now.
Fantastic. How much of that time have you been podcasting for?
About half. So I started podcasting almost a year into my life here, and now I'm a little bit over 2 years in.
Wow, that's pretty quick. What's your why? Why did you start?
Yeah, I started working on it early. I started working on it as early as maybe 6 months into living there, and then it just took a while before I felt ready to get it out into the world.
Fantastic. Why did you start it?
I guess if I look back, I have we'll call it three main reasons. So one, when I was making the move over to Germany, there was a possibility that I would have moved to a really small village where there wouldn't have been much of an international scene. And having moved to a bigger city and experienced all the benefits of living in a big place with a lot of infrastructure for international folks, it was such a help. And I just look back in utter terror of what might have happened if I'd been alone in this tiny village. So part of the podcast is dedicated to alternate reality to Cole, who's just off on her own and terrified. And I think there are many actual listeners who are in similar boats as that. Part two is because I was working at an American Cultural Center in Germany and learning so much about different people's stories and the resources that helped them feel at home abroad. And I felt like it was a waste if that all ended with me. So I wanted to share that with a broader audience. And then the third one that I just kind of threw in there at the end is my boyfriend already had podcasting equipment and knew how to set it all up. And so the hurdle of learning how to podcast was taken away from me, which was great because I don't know if I would have pushed through if I had to figure it all by myself.
That's fantastic. That's a very good head start, is having the equipment already available and with someone that can help you use it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So we're doing, for the listeners, if you have any questions as we're talking, go ahead and put them in the chat room. We'll bring them up either during this call, or if we run out of time, we'll bring them up if Nicole is gracious enough to come back on a full episode. Planting a seed. Okay. So you listen to podcasts that come from your passport country, right?
Yes, many.
Okay. Do you listen to any that come from Germany or that are made in Germany?
I'm working on it. I'm more back and forth with that. So I listened to several when I was really focusing on learning German. There were some really good ones I found very, very helpful, even before I moved here. But I found that once I did move here, and especially once German became less of a barrier for me, once I became fluent enough, I really wanted to value my free time media as free time and not as work. And so that includes reading. I don't read that much in German, and if I do, it's more for practice. And podcasts. I just want to listen to things that feel comfortable and familiar and not have to work so hard on concentrating to them. and, decoding the German. But it's also partially because podcasting really wasn't big in Germany, and it's still not big, but it's getting bigger. So the quality of the shows is also rapidly increasing just in the last 6 months to a year. Now I have a renewed interest in listening to more. And actually, this is perfect timing because just before I stepped out on my lunch break, I was working with a magazine where there was an advertisement for a podcasting app in Germany. So they're actually getting that big that they have their own infrastructure for podcasting, and they're advertising for it in common mediums. So I'm pretty excited to see that growth.
What is the name of the app?
Audio Now, and I just downloaded it, but I have not had a chance to dig into it at all, but it does already. I can find so many more German language and German produced podcasts, because that's another barrier, is a lot of them aren't on all of the apps, and I don't have Apple Podcasts anymore, and so finding them on some of the other apps can be a challenge.
Right. That makes sense. So is it safe to say that the vast majority of the podcasts in Germany are in German?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Do you listen to any of the ones, and sorry if this is beating a dead horse, but I have to ask obvious questions. Are there any podcasts coming from Germany that are in English that you listen to?
I'm sure that there are some, but the only one that I can think of, or I guess there's two, and they're expat podcasts. Yeah. So one is my rival. We're trying to really boost up this idea that we're rivals and hate each other. It's failing miserably because we're getting along. But Expat Life Germany is a podcast hosted by a South African living in the area of Nuremberg. And
hi, Sean.
It's made in, yes, that people want to know it, because I believe he was on one of your shows, the host, Sean. Right, so that one, and then there's another one called Big Dreams, Bold Moves, and she is, I believe, based in Heidelberg. Don't quote me on that though, but she is a mom who moved abroad with her young family, and she interviews different families around the world about how and why they moved abroad with families.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess,
I'm sure there's far more other English language and also other language podcasts in Germany, but I haven't sought it out, honestly, and I haven't also stumbled across it. So if they're out there, if there are ones, especially, if anyone has recommendations, I'm very open to it, but I don't personally know very many.
No worries at all. Hey, it's not a research podcast. I just like picking people's brains on what they stumble across. And that seems to be the biggest way that people find podcasts, right? Somebody recommends it, or they see it somewhere, or, it's very, very kind of an accidental learning process in podcasting right now.
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your International Podcast Day event that's coming up.
Yes, it's so soon now. It's on Monday, on International Podcast Day. It's going to be hosted at the German American Center in Freiburg, so the Karl Schutz House it's called. And I developed this event in collaboration with, for one, another local Freiburg podcast. So there are a couple other people in Freiburg who make podcasts. One of the groups, they're called Jung und Freudlos, and it's in German, as one might guess by the title. They're hosted out of the university hospital in town, and they discuss different mental health issues. And they're going to come on to a panel with me to discuss our podcasts, how we've developed them, how and if they're supported financially and within larger infrastructures, all this kind of stuff. So that'll be first off. Well, actually, very, very first off, I'm going to do a quick 5-minute overview on what a podcast is, because as said, it's not that big in Germany yet. Sure. And some of the attendees may very well have heard the word, but not really know what it even is. So we're going to start there. Then we're going to go to the panel, and then we're going to follow that up with a live recording of the Expat Cast, which is my podcast. We're going to discuss if the American dream is more viable in Germany these days than in America. So that also should be a pretty exciting episode. And then at the end, we're going to have some Q&A and give the other podcast a chance to say, how does my approach to podcasting, which they've just seen demonstrated, compare to their approach?
Oh, okay. That last part sounds really interesting. Can you give us a little teaser on what you're going to say during that part?
About the part of how our approaches differ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really just curious to see what they say, because they'll have seen live me do mine. I don't know exactly what goes into theirs, but we have met and chatted about it, and they are, for instance, supported by the university hospital. They had a budget for equipment. They're a team. There are 4 co-hosts, and I believe a larger team who's involved. So they just have so much more support. I'm like some person in her basement doing this all alone every week. Mm-hmm. I think that alone creates a huge difference in approach. And so I have a lot of questions for them, really, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say once they see how I do it. For me, what's interesting, too, is how you approach conversation. So right. I'm just one person interviewing a guest, and there are 4 people talking and also sometimes interviewing a guest. So that's also very, very different.
Right. So is it going to be available after the event? Like, are you guys recording it and posting it somewhere?
We're going to be recording the Expat Cast live recording part. That's probably clear from calling it a live recording. The rest of it, I don't know yet. This is an event that I kind of organized and put together on my own, and I don't have any equipment like a camera or anything to record it all on. So I would really like to, or at least see if we can live stream it on Instagram or something like this. But those are logistics that, honestly, for me, they've had to come last, because what's most important to me right now is bringing this whole podcasting experience to real life. You know, sometimes as much as I love the community that we have online, I'm bummed out that it's not a thing I can, walk into in real life. Like it stays on my phone or my computer. So it's important to me that this is a step over that boundary. And I want to prioritize the live audience. But again, hopefully over the weekend when I have time, I can try and see if there's a way to make it possible for others to engage with it from afar.
Right. Well, that's a really good point. Are there things like Podcast Brunch Club or any podcasting meetups in Freiburg?
Not that I know of. I know several expats who listen to podcasts, but because it's new in Germany, I don't think there's that many listeners in that demographic. And I think maybe that could be something to look into for the future, and especially this type of event. It's the first of its kind in Freiburg. So it'd be really good to see what the turnout is, what the interest level is, and where it grows from here. The event was slid into the program of the institute that we're hosting it at. Not last minute, but, fairly last minute. And so the expectations for how much press we'd get locally were somewhat low. But I just wrapped up an interview with one of the local newspapers yesterday. So there's going to be an online article about it. And there's already been some other little write-ups. So that shows me at least that the press has interest in this area of podcasting. And I'm hoping that then translates to people also picking that up and growing more of a community of podcast listeners.
Beautiful. I guess it's no big secret anymore that we're looking to relocate to Berlin, hopefully by January, but anything could happen in the world of expat job hunting. So I've already put out the feelers as far as podcasting goes, and I'm in, probably to their chagrin, because I'm not physically in Berlin, but I'm in a Berlin podcasting meetup. I don't know if you've tried to look or start anything on meetup.com, but that might be a way to get some of that in-person podcasting community.
Yeah, I think something like that would be so fun. I question sometimes if I'm the right person to do that. I'm not very outgoing, and it really drains me to host. The idea of hosting something like that sounds really exhausting to me.
Sure. Well, not just
so
to host.
I feel like I might be the wrong candidate.
But it might exist in Freiburg or some. I'm not that familiar with what's around Freiburg. Like, is there another city close by?
No, we're kind of the city for a good while, because it's just the Black Forest all around us.
Sure.
So the bigger cities are like Strasbourg in France, or Basel in Switzerland, or within Germany maybe Stuttgart, but Stuttgart's pretty far. I would have to make a real trip there.
I'm just a little sorry, Nicole. So. I have to stop you. You just said there's just the Black Forest all around you. That sounds glorious.
It is. It so is.
Oh, torture. No, we don't
It's
have
literally my
concrete
backyard.
jungles. Yeah, we have the Black Forest. Oh, okay. That is
I know,
wonderful.
it's insane. I love it so much.
Too funny. Too funny. Okay, so tell us again, remind us where we can find your podcast, and let's do that first. Where can people find the Expat Cast?
So anywhere that they're listening to this podcast right now, they can likely also find my podcast. Just search in your podcast app of choice for the Expat Cast, or you can find us on social media also at the Expat Cast on Instagram and on Twitter. And I'm also always open for email communication. So the expatcast@gmail.com if anything that I said right now resonates and you want to chat.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions for Nicole about her podcasting life as an expat in Freiburg, Germany, go ahead and type them in right now. And as we're wrapping up, I'll kind of throw them in and see if Nicole has time to answer them now or if she comes back on the show. Okay, so what else do we want to do? And your event in Freiburg, do people need to sign up for that, or can they just show up to it?
Nope, they can just show up. So as I said, it's at the Karlschutzhaus, which is on Eisenbahnstraße. It's right near the main train station in Freiburg, and the event starts at 6:30. We will have popcorn and beer. That's typically all it takes to entice people to come. So the guy I'm interviewing for my live recording actually owns a small craft brewing company. So we're going to be serving some of his beers afterwards so we can all mix and mingle.
That's very cool. Wow. And
yes, I can't wait.
Yeah, and next year I hope you'll talk to Dave about being on the International Podcast Day sessions, like doing a whole session from Germany. That would be very cool.
That would be really, really neat. Step for step.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year, yes, I would love it to do that.
Yeah. Well, you're doing the hard one first. You're doing the live in-person stuff with lots of moving parts. The online streaming one, you just sit in front of a computer. So you're literally doing the harder one first.
We'll see if I make it through next week, and then if so. I'm mostly excited, but sometimes I think about it, and then I'm like, oh God, what am I doing? But it's going to be great.
It's going to be wonderful. Wonderful. Any final?
Hopefully, I would love to come back on your show again sometime when it's not live and we're having better equipment.
Yeah, sorry to
tell you how it all goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let's definitely do that. Yeah, sorry for the listeners. We had a little bit of technical problems, and Nicole's not technically coming through the Podbean live right now. She's on my phone into the same microphone that I'm speaking on. Yikes. So, yeah. This app is in beta for a reason, and I'm sure they will fix this. So I'm not terribly worried about that. But yeah, definitely we'll have you on. We'll go through the regular list of questions and dig some more into what you find out after the live event and what kind of community you start to build there. That would be very cool.
Awesome. All right, I got to run back into work, but thank you so much for having me on. It was really fun to experiment with this live podcasting.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it didn't go
sorry.
It was really fun. It's probably also partially the fault of there's a common joke in Germany. Just the data connection here is abysmal. Countries like Romania that are less wealthy have far better infrastructure. So I'm going to take a wild stab and say that some of the time when things weren't working or were only working very slowly, that had faults to lay in the German infrastructure for Funknetz or whatever they call it. So
yeah.
I'll take part of the blame on behalf of my new home country. Absolutely.
Totally fine. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, listeners, I'm really sorry that happened, but I hope you hope you were able to hear Nicole to some degree, and I'll see what I can do with the audio for that, and we'll post it on the geopats.podbean.com website. If you like what you just heard or any of the Geopat podcast episodes, please, and this is a new request, a new call to action from me, go to podchaser.com. and leave a review for us. I don't care how many stars you give us, but I do care what you say about the podcast because I want to make sure that we're doing something that interests you and me and our guests, all three of those at the same time.
Look, my day job as a firefighter is tough, but my night job as a social media manager, my Persian cat Jinxie, that's intense. It's 8 p.m., I've finally gotten home from another 24-hour shift, and I just want to kick back with a cold one, but old Jinxie knocks my beer right off the counter and gives me that look that says, no drinking on the clock. But Heineken 0.0 keeps us both happy. Zero alcohol, but just as refreshing. So I get my drink, and I can still work on Jinxie's new line of merch.
Heineken 0.0, 0.0% alcohol. Now you can. Must be 21 plus to purchase. Enjoy responsibly.
Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
You know what's wrong with health and fitness? You weaponize it against yourself. Why didn't you go to the gym today? You're so lazy. Why did you eat that? You have no self-control. Stop it. At Beachbody, we think training and caring for your body in a way that works best for you should be about loving yourself. Let us help you without all the judgment. Here's how. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.